Education plays a crucial role in the lives of children all around the world, greatly shaping their development, opportunities, and futures. Many children in America wake up and take a school bus to school. Once they arrive, they go to one of our several classes of the day. They could be learning about math, reading, writing, science, or even a foreign language. Although quality schooling is a vital factor in helping students find success and reach their full potential, millions of people lack access to proper learning. In fact, there are over 263 million children out of school worldwide, according to millions of kids are being stranded without an education. Countless children are left enormously disadvantaged due to unequal education opportunities. The injustice that exists in the education system inhibited the success of many students and lead to a multitude of negative outcomes and issues. This can cause children to stay in a cycle of poverty, and this pattern will continue to follow for future generations. In order to give all children a fair chance at education and development successes, change must be brought to end the lack of access to quality education. Students' prosperity and futures are dependent on the quality of education they receive, making it extremely important to ask the question, what factors lead to lack of access to quality education, and what can be done to bring equal education opportunities for all? Our Praxis group, Lack of Access to Quality Education, dug deep into these questions and found many shocking truths about education in America and what needs to be done to help out.
As one of the wealthiest, safest, and culturally modernized countries in the world, many would assume that the United States has an efficient and successful education system. However, this is far from the truth. Although all children in the country legally have the right to a free public education, the quality of the education offered is not always fair. In the United States, the leading cause of limited access to quality education is socioeconomic status. While many European and Asian nations fund their schools equally, the wealthiest 10% of U.S. school districts spend nearly 10 times more than the poorest 10%. From Darlingham. The outcome is that low-income school districts have less access to funding, resources, and qualified teachers needed to properly educate their students. The facts are clear. While children from low socioeconomic status, families entering high school with the average literacy skills 5 years behind those of high-income students, which places low-income and minority students at a significant disadvantage from education and socioeconomic status fact sheet. This is partly due to the fact that in the U.S., 2/3 of minority students attend schools that are predominantly minority, most of them located in central cities and funded well below those in neighboring suburban districts from Darlingham. Minority students therefore often receive lower quality education than non-minorities, resulting in lower academic achievement. Despite its financial status, the United States still retains a large gap in the quality of education, largely based on socioeconomic status.
The Catholic Church often shares its perspective on lack of access to quality education through the 7 themes of Catholic social teaching. With the largest network of private schools in the United States, the Catholic Church's strong advocacy for equal educational opportunities comes as no surprise. Their emphasis on the importance of education is backed by the Catholic social teaching theme of life and dignity of the human person. For a person's basic needs to be met, they must receive a proper education that will facilitate their success. Church officials, including various popes, have openly expressed this belief. For instance, in his encyclical Populorum Progressio, Pope Paul VI writes about the importance of education in the development and improvement of the human condition. He declares that education is the primary object of any plan of development, providing people with the opportunity to progress along with the others. It is impossible for the fundamental needs required for human dignity to be met by all people without a proper education, making it extremely important to the Catholic Church. In order for the life and dignity of human people to be met for all, the Church asserts the importance of the parental choice of education, which can be made possible through another Catholic social teaching theme, preferential option for those experiencing poverty and vulnerability. Many parents who live in below-average school districts are unable to afford the higher quality education that private schools offer, leaving them with no choice but to send their children to disadvantaged schools. In a document outlining conscious citizenship, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops suggests possible methods of increasing public contributions and participation. They assert the need for adequate funding, including scholarships, tax credits, and other means to educate all persons no matter what their personal condition or what school they attend, public, private, or religious. Therefore, an individual's gender, race, ethnicity, or economic status should not determine the quality of education they receive. In order for this to happen, steps must be taken to provide options for those who are not able to obtain a suitable education on their own. The Church's perspective on education is not only exhibited in recent times, it is also deeply rooted in the faith, tracing back to various areas of sacred scripture. The Bible often emphasizes the importance of education in leading a spiritual life. It supports the concept that education and literacy give humans the wisdom that leads to salvation through faith, which is in Jesus Christ. Therefore, it is extremely important that all humans have access to a quality education that enables them to grow closer to Christ. The Bible further acknowledges the importance of education by instructing humans to get wisdom, even if it costs all they have, and get understanding, for it will protect them. Scripture reveals that knowledge is a crucial factor in living a sanctified and dignified life. It supports the concept that education is extremely valuable because it provides the opportunity to know and follow God. Therefore, equal access to quality education is essential. The Catholic Church's support of equitable education even appears in the Gilmore community in various areas, one being the Holy Cross charisms. As a Holy Cross school, Gilmore Academy embraces these charisms and continually works to promote the various aspects of them. In particular, the Holy Cross charisms of option for the poor and hospitality demonstrate a connection to lack of access to quality education. Option for the poor involves showing special care to those who need it the most. In regards to the education system, those who have fewer resources due to gender, race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status are placed at a severe disadvantage and therefore require the most assistance. Option for the poor calls society to bring aid to those lacking a proper education and close the quality gap that exists in the world. Similarly, the charism of hospitality calls humans to be generous and welcoming to those in need. This means reaching out to those who are underserved, such as those who lack a quality education, and working to find solutions to improve their conditions. The Holy Cross charism of hospitality encourages Catholics to do their part and to promote the fair and equitable treatment of all humans, including educationally.
To best promote an end to lack of access to quality education, it is important to consider the main causes of the problem. Educational inequality is ultimately rooted in broader issues such as poverty, racial inequality, and government funding. The issues regarding race in America have long-lasting impacts on education. From the moment African Americans were brought as enslaved people to America, they were seen as inferior. This attitude continued well beyond the 13th Amendment, which ultimately hindered Black success as they always received a poor education. At this point, it is not just African Americans who suffer when it comes to schooling, but many other minorities too, most notably being individuals of Latinx descent. Public schools located in cities that are specifically redlined to separate minorities from white people experience a serious lack of guidance and financial support, which ultimately traps them from escaping these neighborhoods. For example, just from 2000 to 2012, the funding gap between rich and poor schools increased by 44%. Without valuable resources like textbooks, materials, and well-paid teachers, children become trapped in a poverty-stricken cycle. While racism is one of the most historic systemic injustices in education, location also plays a large role. The fact that one student might be able to receive a well-rounded education while another will receive a poor education based on where one lives makes no sense. Government distribution of taxes is the main reason for this. Because wealthier areas have larger homes and incomes, taxes are higher, resulting in greater school funding. But on the other hand, impoverished areas have smaller homes and lower incomes, leading to a smaller amount of taxes being collected. As a result, Lower income schools receive less funding because the taxes are not equally distributed. An example of a viable solution that would alleviate this problem and bring equality when it comes to public education would be to call on the federal government to enact policies that hold all public schools to an equal standard. If public education is free, then shouldn't all receive the same opportunities, teaching, and resources? The government must take steps to ensure the equitable funding of all districts, regardless of income or racial demographic. Furthermore, change can be brought by writing letters to local and federal officials, stressing the importance of equal funding. Acknowledging the issue in society could also help provide a solution. As students a part of a fortunate, well-funded school, students at Gilmore can help solve this injustice by treating all people equally and working to bring an end to the root of the problem that has caused this issue.
But what can we do to make sure every child has the same opportunity to get a quality education? While an overall push for new legislation that supports the funding of schools in poor areas would be the ideal way to combat injustice in the classroom, a single Praxis group simply can't do that alone. So, our group's alternative method of combating educational inequality was to directly provide schools in underprivileged areas with resources that could help improve the quality of the education they can provide. First, we created baskets of school supplies to send to local Cleveland metropolitan schools. A few of us brought in a number of different supplies to add to the boxes, like crayons, erasers, highlighters, markers, and filler paper. These supplies could come in handy to teachers, as many families in poor school districts can't afford to buy school supplies for their children. Also, others of us brought in some decorations for the boxes to make them look more fun, seeing as they would be going to kids after all. But we didn't stop there. In addition to the baskets, each group member recorded themselves reading a different children's book, and we included a physical copy of one of the books in each box with a QR code on the back that links to the audio. Having the audio of us reading these books could help children struggling with learning how to read and allows the teacher to spend more time on other aspects of the children's education, as they won't have to spend so much time reading with each kid. With all these elements in order, we assembled the boxes together, and they were delivered to a family friend of mine who works in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District to be distributed to K-3 classrooms. We hope that our supplies and materials can help make a positive difference in the lives of children attending these schools, even if it's just a small one.
This is just the start to our mission in helping children in need of better education. Something as simple as making boxes full of materials that are easy for us to access could change someone else's lives. Over time, we hope to progress from reading to these children through tapes to being able to visit them in person and read with them. While the service we completed certainly helped bridge the gap in quality of education, there are still millions of children who are disadvantaged due to lack of adequate resources, support, and opportunities. Through the cycle of Praxis, our group has learned the importance of awareness, analysis, and action. Initially, many of us were unfamiliar with the extraordinary injustices existing in the education system. However, after conducting research, we became aware of the severity of the issue and the effect it has on millions of people. Then we were able to use the information we obtained to analyze the underlying causes of lack of access to quality education. From there, we took action in our community by providing service to help bridge the gap for those suffering from the effects of educational inequality. In order for widespread change to be brought to the lack of access to quality education, more people must be made aware of the magnitude of the issue and its consequences. Therefore, if effective action is taken, the inequalities existing in the education system can be brought to an end, providing a fair chance of success for all students.